Welcome to the fourth video in Section 8. Let's implement a RESTful API service. In the previous video, we are introduced how to work with server-side APIs, and we implemented a simple server by low-level and high-level APIs. In this video, we will implement REST APIs for tweets. We will create, get, delete, and retrieve all tweets. Let's get started. First, let's prepare our project. We will need the Akka Stream module, the Akka HTTP core module, the Akka HTTP module, the Akka Spray JSON module, and the reactive Mongo module. Now, let's define our model. We have a tweet object that we will represent by a case class that contains the author and body. Let's define the JSON format for the tweet class. We will extend default JSON protocol from Spray JSON. And here is tweet entity that represents the tweet object on the database. It contains the ID, which is bson object ID, and by default we will generate the ID that contains the author and body. This is the tweet entity object that contains read and write bson, and the method to convert a message from a tweet to a tweet entity. Here, we also have a JSON format for the tweet entity class. Now, let's move to implement MongoDB object, which is responsible for connecting it to the DB. We will load the configuration to our database configuration. Let's read the database name from the configuration and servers list from the configuration object. Now, let's define an instance from Mongo driver and create a new connection and database instance. Now, it's time to define a tweet manager that is responsible for database operations. First, let's define our collection. We will define bson collection and our collection name as tweets. We should implement these functions: save, find by ID, delete by ID, and find. Let's start with the save function. We will use the insert function from the collection object, which will return future. We will map the result to return the created instance with an ID. For find by ID, we will use the find function to select an object by ID. For the delete by ID function, we will use the remove function and map the result for our deleted object. And finally, for the find function, we will use find with the empty query to get all the documents in the tweets collection. Then, we will make a cursor for this query. Now, let's define our route. All routes will start with tweets, so let's use path prefix with tweets. We need to define 4 URLs to create, get, and delete the tweet and retrieve all tweets. For creating, we will define post and request entity will be a tweet. We will call the save method from the tweet manager and map it to our response that will be a tuple of status and body. For reading the tweet, we will define get and our path will contain a segment. We will use find by ID and map the result to our response. For deleting the tweet, we will define delete and our path will contain a segment. A segment is simply a string part in the URL. We will use delete by ID and will return our response with no content status. For retrieving all tweets, we will define get. We will use the find method and the result will be the list of bson document, so we will convert them to tweet entity. Here is the code to start our server and shut down our server. Let's run our app and test it. I'll use Postman REST client to run our app. First, let's create a new tweet. Created. Now, let's get all tweets. Yeah, we only have one tweet. Let's test get one tweet by ID. Excellent. Let's delete this tweet. Yes, we don't have response body and our response status code is 204. Let's list all tweets. Yeah, now we don't have any tweets. We now successfully tested our logic app manually. In the next video, we will learn how to write a unit test for our app. See you there!